Hey everybody, Derek here. I'm here to bring another video for The Walking Dead Season 5. And this one's going to be doing my review for The Walking Dead Season 5 Episode 7, which was Cross. I'm going to give my thoughts on it and basically just talk about the plot and talk about what happened and what that might mean for the future. So, just in case you have not watched the episode yet, do not watch the video or you might be spoiled. Okay. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good episode. I think they did a lot of great things with, Gabriel's character for sure, Sasha's character, and also for people like Rick and Daryl, a little bit, and seeing a couple of things there. I thought Tyrese did great. Um, Couple of parts with Abraham's group that I didn't really, like as much, but I understand the meaning behind it. And I'm going to start there basically, but Tara has now named them the Great M Team for Glenn, Rosita, Eugene, Abraham, Tara, and Maggie. So they're now Team Great M, and obviously Eugene is still unconscious, and Abraham's basically in a still in a shocked state. He's basically just on the ground, on his knees, not moving. He's definitely upset by what he did, and Rosita tries to go over there and talk with him, and he just won't have it. And he almost looks like he's gonna get physical again. And Maggie actually, as a fast-acting hero, she pulls out the gun, points it at Abraham, and basically says, "If you do anything, I'm putting you down. Get back down on the ground." And Abraham basically just remains on the ground for the rest of the episode in the state. But I mean, you can understand why he is. He's obviously still very upset by learning that the mission is nothing, and for what he did to Eugene. I know he definitely is, sorry that that happened. So you can understand why that was the case. And pretty much it was Maggie watching over the camp with Abraham, in his state, and Eugene still unconscious, and the rest of the group went out to get water and supplies. So Glenn, Rosita, and Tara go out, and they basically just. I loved how Tara really, is trying to get, especially Glenn to, forgive Eugene, because Tara does know that Eugene put the glass in the gasoline tank that caused the bus to explode. And I think, she does compassionately care about Eugene as a person and doesn't want to see anything bad happen to him. So, I think that she was, going down that path and trying to get Glenn to agree. And I love that quote, when she was like, "What, can you really fault Eugene for using the only survival skill that he had?" And Glenn was like, "Yeah, yeah, we can." Because that's the thing, is Eugene's really only skill was that he was a good liar. And that's exactly why he was able to survive as long, is because he was able to convince strong survivors that he had the cure, and they were going to protect him at all costs. Sometimes you got to use whatever you got to use to survive, and he did. Which is something that we've all, contemplated and looked at as we watched The Walking Dead. Understanding Eugene's character. So, other than that, it was pretty much about the group. Getting water. Rosita used the filtering technique, and then Glenn and Rosita went fishing, and Tara found a yo-yo inside a backpack off of one of the walkers that they killed. So yeah, that was great there. But I think that what that was trying to personify was that you need even the little things can keep you alive and wanting to live in the Walking Dead apocalypse. And I think that was something they needed to look at with that group, especially after finding out that Eugene doesn't have the cure. I think that they needed that moment to get away from everything and just find something to do, something neat and fun. And I think that going fishing and Tara playing with a yo-yo and things like that was just the little things that help them survive another day. And sometimes you need that, and you're just going to have to find a new reason tomorrow if that's what it takes. So I understand why they went that route. I guess I just wish it would have been a little more interesting versus a waste of time, but I do respect the direction that they went there. And Eugene woke up. Did not expect that to happen. I thought that they would have to, take him somewhere, but guess he's quite all right. Well, getting there. I mean, I think he said help. And you see Maggie going to attend to him, and so he's all right. Somewhat. He's not dead, and that's good. And Abraham, once he sees that, kind of jumps back into action. He realizes he didn't end Eugene's life, so now he can go and help. We also had Beth playing a decent role in this episode. She tried to petition Dawn to give Carol more time to survive, and Dawn flat out turned her down. Only on the appearance of the officers. However, she did give Dawn gave Beth the key to the medicine cabinet. Beth went out and basically was able to get Dr. Edwards to help her as well to get the right kind of medication this time, not a false one, and basically administered that to Carol. Now Carol's still unconscious by the end of this episode, and hopefully she'll be waking up sometime in the mid-season finale. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but it was very interesting to see Beth. I was laughing whenever she gave that older guy who was at the Grady Memorial Hospital, one of the patients, whatever you want to refer to them as, how she gave him strawberries, and he just fell down and pretended that he was having breathing problems. Then once Beth walks by, he goes, huh, "I think I'm okay," and I was like, really? You couldn't have done a better job at that. I mean, that would have raised so many red flags in real life, but it was interesting to see, and I liked how they had a little bit of humor in there, because they did have some pretty dark parts in this episode. Especially with those walkers that were melted to the road because of the napalm, which I'll be getting to in a moment. But before I get to that part, I want to talk about Gabriel. And in this episode, Michonne, Carl, Judith, and Gabriel stay behind at the church in order to guard it. And they actually do fortify it. I mean, you see them starting to take apart pews, some of the organ pipes, and a couple of other things, and just fortifying the church. At this point, they're going to make it, their base of operations until they can, figure out what to do. And, I think that definitely, hurt Gabriel that, to see his church fall like that. And I think another thing, you see with Gabriel is his reluctance to really want to, devolve, if you want to call it, in this Walking Dead world. Because he hasn't had to do really much of anything other than lock people out of his church. Excuse me. And, you saw them saying like, "No, Gabriel, you need to be able to defend yourself. This is the world now." And they give Gabriel a machete to use, and I think that Gabriel basically just, because what he does is he pretty much digs a hole in the floorboards, goes underneath his church, and walks away from the church, and leaves Michonne and Carl and Judith. And of course, in the process, steps on a nail. Great job, he got tetanus, from walking outside. And then he comes across a walker and is able to, kind of defend himself. He does push it onto some kind of like log, and it gets impaled. But then he sees the crucifixion. Sorry, the cross. Pardon me, the cross on the girl. She was wearing a cross necklace, and he could not put her down because of that. And I think again, Gabriel, I think he really wants to, remain a human in this world. And I think he's just really having a tough time coming to terms with, what the world really is. And I think that, being inside that church is sheltering himself. He hasn't been exposed to that, and he wants to kind of like, stay in this little world of, hey, there's nothing going on out there. I got my church, and I got my, my scripture and everything, and I'm happy with that. But the world is unfortunately, still changing around him. And I think, seeing Michonne and the rest of the group, with Rick and Sasha and Abraham killing the hunters like that, he doesn't see any one group as better than another at this point. And I think that, you know, he wanted to get away from that because of the bad influence that he thought they might be having on him. And I think he just sees them as bad people and sees them as sinners. And he can't help them, because they basically, in his mind, devolved so much that he can't do anything. So I think his best bet was to leave before they corrupted him. And I think that was kind of what he was going at. So he's at this point wandering out there on his own. Well, I'm sure he'll probably come back, but we'll have to see what happens there. We know in the sneak peek next week he comes upon the camp where the hunters were at before they attacked the church, and we see Bob's cooked leg basically sitting in the fire pit, and he kind of freaks out angrily. And I think that's going to be based on he's just so shocked that people could do such a thing like that. But I think in some ways he's also disgusted that he would even try to defend people like that, because he was basically saying, to Carl earlier in the episode, he's like, well, the hunters, you guys lied to them. You said you'd let them go, or and you didn't. And I think that he kind of regrets even thinking that he could defend people like that would do something so outlandish. So I think there's a lot going on with him, and it's definitely interesting, and I can't wait for them to explore it a little bit more. And finally, we get to Rick's group. They basically originally Rick wanted to just do a whole Call of Duty silent mission. We go in and we stab that guard here and silent take out that guard there and go and we'll eventually get to Beth and Carol. And that was plan A, and plan B was proposed by Tyrese, where they could, lure some of the cops outside, take them as hostage, or, just as prisoner, and then they would, do a prisoner exchange. Like, hey, we'll give you your cops back if you give us Beth and Carol. And Daryl ended up supporting that one, and basically everybody was supporting it, that one in the end. And what's been interesting this season, and a theme that, I'm finding, is survivors are able to be stronger and more confident in their decisions, that they're not just deferring to Rick like they used to back in season 3. I mean, Rick wanted to go back and kill the rest of the Terminus people. People said, no, that ain't happening. Rick was basically telling Abraham, you're not taking the bus, you're not leaving. Kept telling Glenn and Maggie, like, no, you're not leaving, we're all staying together as a group. And Glenn, this isn't your decision, Rick. And, turned him down. And now you have them turning down Rick's plans. And I think that that's making Rick very upset and uncomfortable. And you can kind of visibly see nonverbal signs of that. Like, I think that things would have been different if Carol wouldn't have shown up whenever people were saying don't go back and kill the Terminus people. I think that conversation might have went a little bit differently, and things probably would have happened. But whenever Abraham leaves, at the end of the 3rd episode, look at Rick, and he just, like, the look on his face, and he's just tapping the stair railing of the church, and you can just tell that he's ticked. That Glenn and Maggie and the rest of the group would basically make that decision to split. And you can see that he's harboring those, angry feelings. And I think that he did the same thing here. And I think that it's starting to make him kind of unstable again. Because basically what ends up happening is the plan does work at first. They're able to capture 2 of the cops. Unfortunately, there's a 3rd one out there. They kind of work in 2-person teams, in case one's in danger. And Daryl just comes out of nowhere and freaking, they basically try to escape, and the one cop gets Daryl, and there's basically a bunch of walkers that are like melted, disgusting things from the napalm that was dropped in Atlanta, and Daryl just takes the head of one of them and smacks the cop with it. That was absolutely insane. That was probably by far Daryl's best walker kill. I think that totally takes the trunk hands down. That was amazing. That will never be. I don't think that will ever be replicated in any awesome way by any other character. That was just absolutely sick that they would do that. And Rick basically is able to make sure the cop doesn't do anything more to Daryl. Excuse me. And for a second there, like Rick was prepared to shoot the cop, and Daryl was like, Rick, no, three's better than two, and it was a good point. And but I think that Rick is starting to become a little unhinged again. You can kind of see like those little signs. And I think part of it's related to, I don't think that he feels that, since he's not in control anymore, that more things can go wrong. And I think that he's not feeling confident about leaving other people to make decisions for him. And I think that's something that we'll see play out for the rest of the season. And then the last little bit that's going on here, Sasha's still dealing with Bob's death, which is to be expected. I think that's going to be something she deals with for quite a while. And, Tyrese is there for her, and it's a very nice, brother sister moment. Was very nice to see. And ironically, the one cop that they captured, his name was Bob. How about that? What a coincidence. And basically, what's interesting is the cops were even like saying, "Hey, listen, just let us go. We'll take care of Dawn for you. We don't like her anyways. We don't want her in charge. She doesn't know what she's doing," which pretty much confirms what we all know. But of course, Rick and the group wouldn't know what's going on. And the guy basically gets Sasha in a moment of weakness, and I think that he took advantage of the fact that well, I guess he wouldn't really know overall, but Sasha kind of, I think, whenever she saw, this guy, and the fact that his name was Bob, I think, and I from watching Talking Dead, I think Sasha saw that as like a sign from Bob, like, hey, Bob would help this guy because Bob was that kind of a guy. Bob was somebody that had, faith in people that would be willing to help them, and I think that she wanted to, try to live by Bob's standards and help this guy. And the guy basically said, yeah, there's a walker out there that I saw that used to be my friend, and I'd really appreciate it if you would shoot him for me because he's just sitting out there and it's disgusting. It shouldn't be like that. So Sasha says that she's willing to do that. And of course, she goes to find the walker, and of course he's just using that as a way to escape, and he smacks her head against the wall, well, against the glass window, and then basically takes off running. So we have one cop on the loose, which, that he may get recaptured, he may get eaten, he may make it back to the hospital and alert everybody else to what's going on. We don't know. But definitely a lot of things to look forward to in the next episode. I think they have a lot they can work with here, and I think we're going to see a very interesting mid-season finale. I can't believe we're already here, folks. But to bring this video to a close, again, I would give the episode about a 7.5 out of 10. I really think that it was overall good. There were, a couple things they could have done better, but overall the quality was great, and it was a very good episode. Definitely did more than just provide, the length to the season finale. I think it did more than that, and that's what I always like to see in an episode. So thank you all for watching. If you all have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I have more videos coming. And if you have any video topics that you would like to suggest, don't be afraid to do so. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you.